Kaiya, welcome to the MSUMDragons Podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
It's a great day to be a Dragon, as always. How are you?
Doing well. Had a pretty busy morning with practice and a meeting, and then we have practice later today. So it's just going to be a pretty busy day, but it'll be good.
So for those who don't know you, just give us a little bit about, your sport, your involvement within Dragon Athletics on top of that, and all the other things that you're involved in right now, just to kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about today.
My name's Kaiya Sundeen. I'm a junior here at MSUM. I'm on the softball team. I'm a captain along with 3 other captains on my team. I'm the president of SAAC. I just got involved with the diversity and inclusion group with athletics. My major is biology, health, and medical science with an emphasis in pre-med. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you're bored constantly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Well, let's start with softball. And the topic of today's podcast was, I know we give a lot of attention to the fall sports who lost their season this year. Obviously, softball lost the spring season last year, but we haven't given a whole lot of attention to the fact that softball plays a non-championship season in the fall, and you guys would be playing games right now too. And it kind of felt like that hadn't been talked about yet. And so just kind of want to get your thoughts on what would a normal fall look like for Dragons softball, and talk about some of your memories of the past years that you've done a fall non-championship season, and just tell us the importance of it and why it sucks to miss it right now.
So in the fall, we usually have this thing called our 45 days. So they'll start like the second week of school. And we practice for 15 hours a week. Pretty much you just have a 2-hour practice at the end of every day. You have 1 day in the weekend that you practice. And I mean, basically it's like a whole separate season. If you played softball before, we usually have something called fall ball. That's basically what this is. So we have practice, trying to get everyone back in the swing of things. And we usually have scrimmages on the weekend. So not having scrimmages this time of year kind of sucks, because we started a lot later and we started at 8 hours and then got bumped up to 15 hours. So that was quite an adjustment. Mm-hmm. But now, we can't have any scrimmages, which is really a bummer. Like last year and the year before, on homecoming week, we went to, we played UND and we play other conference teams, but it's just like a scrimmage. So you get to learn more about your team, and you get to have more experiences to be able to mesh with the people on your team, like the freshmen or the transfers. We have 5 new people this year, and it's really different to try to learn how to play with them because we don't have what we usually have in the fall. It's just kind of tossing the ball around in practice now, which, I mean, it's good to get out there, but it's just totally different than what it was.
Yeah, I know we sent the Go Teamers out there to shoot some photos and videos, so go check those out on our social media stuff. But, I know the spring was tough to lose that. Now losing fall ball, but still able to kind of work out. So what good things is Dragon softball taking out of what time we can get together and just get back to it because of the miss in the spring and now the delay in the fall?
I feel like we all have the mindset that we kind of have to do whatever we can to stay safe. So we're all always wearing masks. We're always doing that stuff, but we kind of have to take this as any opportunity could be our last. As we saw last year, our season was just took out from under us. We were in Florida and we were playing games one day, and the next day they're like, oh yeah, delay for 2 weeks. And then a couple days later, they're like, oh, season's canceled, go home. It was just, things can be taken away so quick. So we all have that mindset that we need to live every practice like it's our last and just work hard until we can't anymore.
Well, and you're working hard in a lot of other areas, as you just mentioned. What has been your experience so far as a leader of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, or as we're going to call SAAC? So what's it like to be the president of an organization like that? And what kind of things are you guys working on right now?
Right now, we just started having meetings. But what I love about it is being able to connect with all student athletes. Obviously, I only have one really perspective of softball. I don't know football goes through, what wrestling goes through, or volleyball or whatever, and everything in between. So being able to like have athletes from every sport come together and talk about their experiences and talk about how we can make NEMSIC and student athlete life better all together is just super cool. As president, it's definitely a lot of work, a lot more work than I thought it was going to be from being in SAAC last year, but it's totally worth it because I get to like make plans to make like NEMSIC and to make MSUM a better place. So this year, me and my other co-leaders in the group, which are Clay Jackson, Brooklyn Legal, and Rachel Schumacher, we're planning on like getting more volunteering out of the whole group, more like athlete appreciation, more diversity inclusion, but still also like involving the NSIC SAAC initiatives like Make-A-Wish and stuff like that. So we're really excited for our plans, and hopefully we can hit the ground running with still being safe with the COVID precautions.
Yeah, you mentioned you're also starting some work on some diversity and inclusion pieces, and it's unavoidable in today's society. And you know, even personally, I've vowed to use my platforms such as this to have those difficult discussions. And you know, it is a difficult discussion, but a necessary one to I think normalize the fact that there is a problem. What kind of things, and I know things aren't concrete yet, but you know, what kind of ideas are kind of floating out there that are starting to get some traction within SAAC of ways that Dragons can help in this world?
So SAAC is partnering with the diversity and inclusion like athletic group, which just had a meeting this past week, but we're also talking about partnering with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and then like the Rainbow Dragon Club and their whole center as well. But we're trying to find a way to like make sure that everyone is represented. So to make it a better place for athletes and like for things that athletes can do is, like you said, just to have that hard conversation, stand up and not be silent when things are wrong. And I mean, we all know when things are wrong, so just to have the guts to stand up to that. But I mean, if anyone that's watching this is ever interested in coming to the meetings, think they're planning on having them once or twice a month, and for the diversity inclusion group, and you can come in and there's usually snacks and we have conversations about how we can make MSUM a better place, and there's gonna be speakers, and it's just gonna be a really inclusive and fun environment. So if anyone watching wants to come, you're more than welcome. You can contact me on any social media or whatever.
Well, you had me at snacks.
Right?
Yeah, and the important work, of course, don't get me wrong.
Yes, of course.
Don't want to downplay that. But I'm just taken aback by all the stuff that you're doing. It's tough being an athlete, let alone an athlete with a split season. And so there is no off season for you.
No.
You know, we just talked about, you know, you got to go to rehab after this, and physical therapy and all that kind of stuff, conditioning in the morning, practice in the afternoon, biomed, biochemistry, pre-med. That is not an easy course plan. So, and then SAAC involvement. And so how do you balance all of these things, and why are they all so important to you that, you know, in getting involved in as much as you can right now here at MSUM?
Well, I always like being busy, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. Like I told you this past week, I had this big project I had to do. So what helps me is just my time management skills, which I kind of sucked at in high school, but I've started to learn how to do that better. But how, like, I think that it's all important. Like, obviously I don't have to be involved in all these things, but because my major is hard enough. I mean, pre-med is kind of really hard. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff to do.
I literally can't imagine how hard it is.
But softball's always been a passion of mine, and I always want to be part of something that's bigger than myself. And I love helping people. That's like my big thing. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a pediatrician. So like I just want to help people. So being a part of SAAC and diversity and inclusion group and everything like that is just another platform for me to be able to like extend my hand and help people, as well as like become a leader in the community and increase my leadership skills for like my future job and for whatever else I can help people with in the future.
and you're doing it extremely well, and we appreciate everything that you're doing for sure.
Thank you.
What words would you kind of have to some of the underclassmen, and let's start with the beginning of this podcast. So as they're adjusting to whatever this is, I don't even want to call it a new normal. And so, you're involved, you have this great perspective. What advice would you have to, maybe even recruits coming into this as you've taken advantage of these opportunities here at MSUM? And as some of these times have been a little difficult, what advice would you have to, let's just say, a recruit who's thinking about coming to join Dragon softball in the middle of all this stuff without losing a spring and a fall ball and all these opportunities that you've taken advantage of? And I know your actions so well speak probably better than the words you're about to say, because you just embody it and own it and do it. But what advice would you have for that individual?
I would say, for sure, just don't be afraid to do the hard thing. Obviously, I don't have to be involved in these things, and neither does anyone else, but being able to kind of put your nose to the grindstone and be able to do something that's difficult, but it's what's right for you, is definitely some advice I would give. Also, take advantage of every opportunity that you can, because like I said, you never know when things can get, swept out from under you. And always take time for yourself as well, because sometimes it can be really overwhelming being involved in all this stuff and having all this crap going around with the world and just with your own self. So take time for yourself, do what's best for you, but also keep in mind that other people have different perspectives and other things about them. So just keep in mind that everyone's life is different, and do what's best for you, but also keep others in mind.
Perfect. Whoa, I'm sold. Where do I sign? Let's go. Let's do this.
Dragon softball, here we go. Recruit 2021.
Well, I hate to do the hard thing right now, and that's say goodbye. We're out of time already. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. We really appreciate your time and everything you do for Dragon Athletics.
Thank you for having me. It was great to talk to you.